Well, I'll certainly tell you if I don't know how to do something. Here are the first two trees I tried to cut down this particular project. I'm trying to clear overhead branches so I can bring a travel trailer through here. This is a tree that's actually hung. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. Now, why am I going to show you my mistakes? And why would I admit that I'm a novice with a chainsaw? Well, that's because a lot of folks who listen to the podcast, Prosperity Homestead, or have subscribed to our YouTube channel, they are just getting started with homesteading, and there is a certain level of frustration of just simply not knowing what you're doing. And that's okay. I really want to share with you that that's okay. So these are the first two trees I cut down here, and then going up the way, and I'm not going to walk all the way down there. Basically, we're clearing the overhead, and I was dropping these trees in the trail or in the woods, depending on which direction the tree wanted to go. But when you're starting homesteading, when you got your first piece of land, when you're building out a hunting site or a weekend getaway, or you're simply starting a garden, there's going to be a lot of stuff you don't know. Now, I know you're searching on the YouTubes, trying to figure this stuff out, but there are two ways to learn fast. The first way is to read books. Books are concentrated knowledge. They have very little distraction, and they're extremely portable. So you can simply read a book and learn how to do these things. The equipment manual tells you how to cut the tree. Here are the other ones. I did these cuts much better. Dropped them down and cut the log off at the ground. Because again, we're gonna need to get through here to get back to where the trailer's gonna park. The second way to learn is by doing. Now notice I didn't say watching YouTube videos and staying up late dreaming about your dream. I didn't say that's good because it takes you away from action. Now, I'm always out of breath with these things because my health is not that good. I'm overweight. I've spent a lot of time in front of the computer, and ultimately I need to get out and exercise. So I spent probably, 40 minutes going down this line. There's a project the kid's working on over there, and just making sure I'm cutting down branches. I'm gonna come back with a pole saw for that one. Getting my overhead branches out of the way, making sure I have the right turning radius. I downloaded a PDF, which is the Army Corps of Engineers guidelines for highways, and downloaded another one with the National Park Service. They recommend a 13-foot wide passage for your vehicles, 21-foot wide for a vehicle hauling a trailer. 21-foot wide is enough that somebody who's actually good with the trailer, that's another thing I'm learning, could actually turn around. But it's wide enough for a large piece of equipment to get through, and 3-point at the end. So that's, I learn it, I come out and do it. So here I drop these trees. I'm not going to work on this tonight. I'm really wrapping up. Cut them off at the ground. But as you can see, and I was walking this way, the first two trees didn't go so well. But by the time I got to the third or the fourth or the fifth, man, that stuff's working like magic. Now I'm going to drive through here and bring a trailer, so the trees across the way are not ideal. So I'm going to pull those out of the way. These are nice poles, by the way. We're going to strip these poles, and we're going to use them to put together a goat shed or something like that. As I got further out, I was able to drop the trees away from the passage, so I don't have to come through and run it. But that's it. That's from failure to success by action, not by wishing, dreaming, hoping, not by one more video. It's simply grab a book, put a read in, and then go out there and do it. Now, the best way to do it, because I know a lot of folks say that I unabashedly serve affluent property owners, and people out in their mind think that's 300 acres, 500 acres. I serve people who are 5 acres or more, and in some places you can buy five acres for less than $20,000. Now, that's raw land. But if you're going to then put a house on it, you can turn that raw land into a higher value property. So that 5 acres with a house on it becomes $100,000, $200,000, even $300,000, depending on what kind of house you put on it. So again, you don't have to be rich. When I say affluent, I'm meaning someone who leverages their money well in order to create the habitat, the environment, the land that they want. Now, you can't create land, but if you search out there, you keep an eye open, you get an idea what your budget is, you will find a piece of land that is of good value, that using the methods that we teach at Prosperity Homestead, you can multiply its value. This particular piece of land that I'm on, we doubled its value by putting trails on it. Now, we did a few more things too. We also used the mapping, and if you look at the past videos, you'll see that there's some nuances like trails that bisect a little section of woods here. Of course, the very wide trail that goes around the whole section here, because again, you need 21 feet wide to draw a trailer through. And here's one of the reasons why. See, if I park a trailer in the middle of there and a big windstorm comes, those little trees will less likely tear the trailer up. So if me and my kid are camping back here, or if the trailer's just parked back here on the land because I'm going to come out on the weekend and do work. See, some of you folks have written in and say, hey, I got a piece of property, it's 40 miles away, it's 100 miles away. What do? Turn it into a campground first. Now, campground for yourself. Drive a little trailer out there, go primitive tents, put a nice little shed out there that you can lock up to store some tools. Go out there and spend a wonderful weekend with your family working on your piece of land. But again, you're going to fail first, and that's good. That failure, that pushing your skill set gives you confidence. I had the opportunity to drive a mini excavator today. Now, I didn't want to, not because I wasn't confident that I can do it. I have drove a mini excavator before. My proficiency is very low, but it's one of those things I want to focus time on, and I don't want to distract from the projects at hand. So if you saw the earlier video I posted where I was slashing and chopping, dropping in a garden, that's a different location. That's actually a nonprofit that I volunteer at. And I wanted to focus that day on the task at hand. So really, you can set an intention to learn something. Go get a book. Go get library materials. Watch one video from a credible expert. I have a permaculture design certification. That came with a bunch of books. That came with a bunch of resources. I don't need to go get more resources. I need to then go out and apply what I've learned on specific projects. Specific projects. Now, I know there's folks looking at this, and they're going to say, oh, that plunge cut's just not right. Just don't know how to use this all. I told you up front I don't know how to use it. I'm immune to your criticism because I'm learning while doing. Now, I did touch on it a little tiny bit. I want to hit on it again. You don't have to do this alone. So somebody writes and says, hey, you're unabashedly catering to a wealthy crowd, a high income crowd, somebody who can afford to buy land. Well, first off, that's a bad attitude. If you're watching the video and you're getting value out of it and you don't think you could afford to buy land, you're not paying attention, because we're buying distressed property. We're turning it over with ecologically sound solutions. If you're a hunter and you set out a clearing like this, come out here with your little hammock, pup tent, whatever you got, you could be hunting on this property. Of course, you have to be sure about the backstops. You could be hunting on a piece of property, and then the property goes from distressed to valuable. Add some trails, find a home site. You could even get a piece of property, do minor updates to it, then leverage that piece of property when you find the ideal piece of property. So if somebody says, I don't have enough money to buy land, then you don't have the mindset that's necessary to be a good person in my audience. You're probably a good person anyway, but what I'm saying is that, yes, you'll probably be offended. You'll probably be worried about, he's talking about rich people. He's talking about stuff I can't do. He had a forest mulcher out there. I'm talking to people that are going to do and figure out how to make it happen. So I had to save up the money for that forest mulcher. I had to save up the money to buy the land. I'm just like everybody else. You could have $1 million in income every year. And if you're spending $1,001, then you're just as broke as anybody else. But if you earn $10,000 a year, $20,000 a year, $50,000 a year, and you're spending very little, so let's say you make $50,000 a year, your living expenses are $10,000. That's $40,000 in net. Of course, the government's going to take their share. But so the affluent focus is a mindset. Now, you can be a landowner with one piece of land, with 1 acre. Simply could just get an acre. Get started there. Improve that acre. Maybe even flip it if you find a better piece of land somewhere else. You could build a small house on it rather than a big, large house, because a small house will have smaller payments that allow you to save up more money. Do you see how this works? I want you to try first before you make up some lame excuse about this is not for you because you aren't rich. You're poor. You don't have a good job. Oh, the economy's bad. Oh, you know, the so-and-so's in office. Oh, those are excuses. You can't take excuses down to the bank and do anything with them. But again, you could go volunteer to work on somebody else's farm. Start building up the skill set. Those skill sets are wealth. Your health and your skills are your wealth. Okay, so a lot of people are confused. They don't know about the 8 forms of capital. They don't know how valuable it is to get out and do something instead of sitting on the couch and bitching about something. See, and I don't want to be harsh here, but I tend to be very blunt and very transparent and very honest with people to the point that sometimes that upsets folks. Okay, but I'm showing you that I own a cheapy old chainsaw. Actually, my first chainsaw was my neighbor's old chainsaw. And now I have a cheapy old chainsaw that I bought from a company that I know can repair it, a local repair shop. So I know they can repair it because I don't even know how to repair the thing. I know the safe operation and use, that's kind of a priority. And I can get out here and do what I need to do. Now I got the forest mulcher to do the majority of the stuff because there is a way that you can get things done if you have the means. Is you can actually hire people to come out and do this stuff for you. See, that's why I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I'm just throwing videos up and answering people's questions. I have personal joy from answering people's questions. And from time to time, people send me videos or pictures of what they're doing because I'm looking for that community of doers, that community of producers. But the way you get there is by doing something. If you are poor today, and by the way, I was homeless for 2 years. A while back, I had a IT company. The .com crash happened. I ended up tremendously in $250,000 in debt. This is on the back pages of one of my books. $250,000 in debt, homeless, sleeping on the floor at my brother's house. I cooked and cleaned for them over time. I made like $0 one year. The next year I made $4,000. I know what it's like to not have, but if you don't even have faith and hope in yourself, then get out there and work. Get out there and be an apprentice to somebody. Get out there and work as a volunteer on an organic farm. Go out there and volunteer to work at a park. When I was a kid, I actually worked, so we did this through Scouts. I actually worked on a couple parks, big ecological projects. I loved trail work. Trail work was so much fun. So you just got to get out there and do something. Now, of course, you got to be safe. I always put priority on learning about the safety and then refreshing yourself on the safety before you actually get out there and start doing something. And the reason that's important because if you hurt yourself, then you can do less stuff. So me sitting at a desk all the time, ended up with some back problems. I have limited capacity. Even my arm, my arms hurt. I don't mean to complain because complaints, again, have no value at the bank. But I'm trying to help you understand that even though I sound like everything's all put together, and I show you a lot of stuff that's finished, and I tell you the value of the finished work, it is a constant effort to get stuff done, to get contractors to do things, to get me with time available on the calendar to do things where, so I have allergies and my kid had COVID for a little while, and you got to build up to it. And so even if you do one thing today towards your homestead dream, towards your small farm, towards your desire for self-sufficiency, even just one thing today, even if it fails, you're going to be better off than if you just watched one more video. See, watching a video isn't something. Going through your bookkeeping, and because guys, inflation is here already. There's been a recession for a while. I know the government's arguing about whether there's a recession or not. But sitting down and balancing your checkbook, seeing how much money you have, finding out how much property costs, figuring out what you want to do. And if you already have even just a small backyard, figuring out what your budget is for your garden. Whether or not growing your own food is going to be more cost effective than actually buying food from a local farmer. Building that relationship with a local farmer so that you know where they're at the market, what are they doing with their food. All of that is worth more than gold. All of that has massive value. all of that drives forward the outcomes that you're looking for. And I just want it to be a voice of encouragement that you will try and things will fail. You'll find some things you're really good at, other things you're going to need help. As you develop a community around these dreams and desires that you want, you're going to find people who can mentor you. Earlier today, a gentleman showed me how the saws work and things to look at, because I was going to get back out here and do some sawing today. We talked about some safety equipment. So there's a helmet and shield that I'm going to buy. And yeah, I'm not wearing a helmet and shield right now, but I'm going to go buy one. But I didn't want one little thing to keep me from getting started. There's other safety you can do. Eye protection, hat, that kind of thing. So let me leave you with one more thing. Please write out a plan. Educate yourself in the critical path. Do so with materials that have minimal distractions. Go apply those resources however you can. Volunteer somewhere. Go work on a crew to clean up a local park. Go work on a crew to, plant a community garden. Start learning. Start doing. You're going to look back on this time when you first started taking action, or you continue the action that you've already started, and you're going to smile with joy, pleasure, and happiness that you were moving towards. The whole time you were moving towards self-sufficiency. You're moving towards that abundance that you deserve and you will have sooner than you think, because you took the steps necessary to try and fail, to learn, to grow, to build community, and ultimately a sustainable and prosperous homestead. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you have questions about this or anything I cover, or even just want to share a success story that you have, visit www.prosperityhomestead.org. Go to the contact page, simply ask your question, and thank you for being a part of this. I love to hear your questions. It really inspires me to keep going and to keep doing these things, and also helps direct the content. So again, I'll see you in the next podcast or the next video.